Hello all, my name is Kyng-Pin, and I'm coming back from let's start off from the beginning. I had a good idea for there aren't any children here. All right, so guess I can't do that. Anyway, I had a really good idea for a playlist cover for one of my Spotify playlists. It's just a playlist full of songs, original songs and their covers. And the title of the playlist is Cover Your Tracks. So I figured I would do like one of those footprint things, and it would just be an aerial shot of the footprint in the mud. However, the idea I had required puddles. And what do you know? It's decided to rain the next day. So I went out to the local dirt road, you know the one, and So I went out to the local dirt road and filmed myself stepping in. We'll recap in a second. But it was not worth it. Let me explain to you what had happened. All right, so I'll explain the story to you, and then I'll meet back up with you. All right, see you then. First, I got a haircut. But that's unrelated. Then I very calmly walked over to the rocky path that I used in some of my other videos. It's all soaked. My socks are so wet. Oh, I don't like this at all. Okay, this plan might not have been thought through to the finest detail. Oh, this is awful. This is actually the worst thing ever.
Yeah. So things didn't go exactly as planned, as in what little plan I had to begin with. So I had to move over to a patch of dirt nearby where I started making the footprints for the playlist cover. I really wanted to see how I looked to anybody other than myself, so I set up a second camera to film a third-person view and...
Well, as you planned.
Yeah, I looked like as much as a fool as I thought I would.
Okay, let's go back to the safety of indoors, because I absolutely hate this.
After that horrible ordeal and a much-needed change of clothes, I uploaded all my photos onto my computer, and it was time to start the actual project, i.e. the fun part. I began by searching through all the pictures I had taken, and I took a lot more than I initially thought, so I had to find the perfect one. After I found a pretty okay picture, I brought it into Photoshop and created a square composition. Originally, I was going to do a 1080 by 1080 pixel square, just for that extra resolution. Unfortunately, the picture wasn't great, so it got a little blurry and distorted when I tried to blow it up. So instead I opted for an 800 by 800 pixel square, which wasn't much better, but it kind of covered up the fact that my photography skills could have been slightly better. Then I added my school's radio logo in, which is kind of a requirement for these types of playlists for, well, the radio. Then it was just a matter of texturing / blending and finding a good color that stood out. For the muddy texture, I just copied the image of the footprint and painted around the area where the logo is, so it would only appear in that area. Then I set the copied texture to pin light and added a brightness and contrast to make the logo stand out more. The white logo looked pretty fine and was easy to read, but I wanted a more controlled color palette, so I added a hue and saturation layer to the logo, colorized it, and played around with it till I found a good orange color. Then I just repeated all the prior steps for the Roman numeral 3 that I added in with the text layer that I put at the heel. I played around with the color a little bit more, but I liked the original orange that it went for, so I just decided to keep it. kept that fall theme that I really wanted. Next was the title of the playlist, Cover Your Tracks. I typed it up and played around with the fonts till I found an appropriate looking one. And let me tell you, that took a lot longer than I thought. I'm pretty sure I went through like almost every font, and there were a lot of them to go through. So after deciding on a good looking font, or just giving up and using whatever was active at the moment, I forget which one I went with, I had to do a lot of playing around because no matter what color or font I used, it always got blended in with the background and it was completely unreadable. So I went back and forth messing with hue and saturation adjustment layers and different layer styles like bevel emboss and drop shadow until I had a font that fit the color palette but also stood out enough where it could easily be read against all the brown and orange. After making a few tweaks to the composition, we moved on to the holy grail of Photoshop, the Camera Raw filter. So I combined all the layers and played around with the sliders a bit until I found something that looked pretty good. But that didn't necessarily mean that I was finished. After applying the almighty Camera Raw filter, I saw a few areas that could use a bit of touch-ups. For example, the part of 3 that was over the water didn't have a mud texture because there was no mud texture in the picture to copy over. So I added a vibrance layer and a gray layer and painted over the areas that I wanted to look more faded out or muddier. The resulting effect was looking like the 3 had sunk in partly into the water, which I think was pretty cool. Finally, I copied the Cover Your Layer tracks and moved it to above the Camera Raw filter. This way, it wasn't blocked out by the vignette, and it was a lot brighter than everything else in the playlist cover. And, well, yeah, I guess that's it. Oh yeah, and then I uploaded it to Spotify. Alright, and there we have it, the final playlist cover for Cover Your Tracks. I gotta say, I like it a lot. I think it turned out pretty cool, although I think I might prefer what I did for the second one, The Rocketing, which is this month's playlist, just because it's more appealing to look at and a lot less dirty and muddy. But, you know what? You guys decide. Was this worth the soaking wet socks I had to endure? Also, another thing, this playlist is not supposed to come out for like another month, I think. I got really ahead of the game here. So make sure to follow me at my socials down below, and I'll let you know when this playlist becomes public. But other than that, I'm cold, I'm tired, and I'm going to bed. See you guys next time.